Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I'm getting started on another episode of What's Broke Today. And today, we got a dump trailer. I don't know where we start. We got suspension problems. When you tow it and it's rolling, first impression I got was it reminded me of a street car, because there's something inside the brake drums, which I think is probably a brake adjuster that's bouncing around, ting, 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 as you roll. I don't know about brake lights, but I know tail lights don't work, and of course the brakes don't work. And we got a ground problem on the hydraulic, or on actually the pump or the hydraulic to dump the bed, and then the rear doors don't close right. I'm going to see if I can bend it back in so that they line back up. But that'll be the last thing. I think I'm going to start out, I think I'm going to get up on jack stands, pull the wheels, pull the brake drums, look at the wheel bearings and the brakes, and we'll go from there. Now, while I was talking about that streetcar sound, the ding, the ding, ding, ding here. Oh. So, okay, I got the wheel off. I got the nut off the end of the axle. There's the washer. There's our bearing. So far it doesn't look too bad, but I think this trailer is, I think, a 22 or 23 model year. I mean, it's about 2 years old. Oh, our magnet, our brake arm, where the magnet attaches, broke. So, wow, that is a first. I figured it was this adjuster bouncing around in there. I wouldn't even have guessed that was what was bouncing. Yeah, because I don't think those. It wouldn't surprise me if these brakes haven't worked since day one. But, yeah, so I guess while I'm at it, I want to pull all four of them off and look at them, but I'm going to call that in a way, I mean, maybe a win. The big key is you know, what they want for a magnet and an arm, you know, maybe as much as it costs to buy a whole brake assembly, which would really be ridiculous. But the way some of this stuff is, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, so let me I'll shut the camera down and I'll pull the other three wheels off, and then I guess I'm gonna look at, I think this is the thing that's wore out right here. That here it's wore clear through and made a slot in this where that rides. So I'll have to pull that apart too. But yeah, let me go ahead and get the other three wheels off, and then we'll get on to other things. Of course, our brake is making noise. The puck in it's, of course, bad. And I took the front one off, not expecting anything, but the wires are ripped out at the front, and it was still on its arm, but no fixing those wires. The only one that's intact is the front one on the driver's side. Still has everything there, but as you can see, I'm sure none of the brakes were working because of all these shorted wires. But even this rear one here, the puck had come off. So it was, or the wires are broke. It was still on its arm, but it looks like I was doing a little parts lookup, looks like the cheapest thing to do is go online and order probably 2 complete brake drum assemblies, because by the time I buy magnets and spend all the time messing with wires, I just replace the assembly for not much more money, especially with that arm being broke on the other side. So I'm going to order parts for that, and then get around. Next thing I want to look at is check out all the lights. Well, I thought while I was here, while I was making a parts list, I ought to get this tore apart. So a big nut off the back side of that, and then this axle we're in pretty good shape, because I don't think that's going to fall because it's supported on the other side. But like on the front where it pivots on the other side, that bushing is wore out, so a little bit. Okay, that's going to take more than just an impact to get that loose. I think I'll go get my angle grinder so I can see if I can cut that head of that bolt off, whack it off there, then drive it through. Okay, now as we sit here and we look at our pieces, this is that pin I pulled out. You see where it's wore a groove in it, and then what wore the groove is when through the center of this, it wore through, and that was riding on the bolt where it should have been like this and riding on a bushing, and it lasted a little longer. It's got a grease fitting. If it just greased it every once in a while, but this thing does, as you can tell, gets pulled on a gravel road a lot, so you know, gravel dust is just like shooting it with sand constantly. So he already got the stabilizer piece. I'll need that pivot bolt, some bushings, a couple more bolts. I may just go to the trailer place to match those up, but something like this thing's like $12. But yeah, we gotta have it. Well, we're back at our trailer. I'm going to start out by putting this equalizer back in, and I got a new bushing to go in here, and then a new bolt. And I'm going to put thread lock on here, so hopefully that nut won't come loose. So that's one thing I forgot to grab while I was up there, was I got the new nuts for here. I didn't get a new one for this, but thread lock will take care of this just fine. And of course, when you put the equalizer on, the slipper side has a little piece welded in here that sets on top of the slipper. Like slide her across. That up on there. Okay. So I'm definitely going to take the new bolt, put it through up here. When you put these nuts on, if you look at them, you'll see where they've been crimped on one side. So if you start the other side, that'd go on easier. Alright, get that started, and then If those tighten down, then this is heavy steel. I don't know that we want to squeeze it and compress it. Another thing also noticed here is I might take this out by the barn. It looks like we got a crack right here. I'll have to clean that up and inspect it. It may just be where it hit real hard, but it does look like a crack. Here to the brakes, and I got my new assembly. And if you look, this arm always goes toward the front, so when you step on the brake and it applies, it pulls. I'll loosen these up. These bolts that are in the axle are just like wheel studs. There's that the brakes came with new ones, but I'm not going to change them because there ain't nothing wrong with the ones that are in there. It's really sad I'm having to do this kind of repair on a trailer that's I asked him, he's had this since August of 22, I believe. There we go. Oh shoot, and that ain't even connected on the back side either. Boy. So I'm gonna have to pull a wire through there. Wonder if that's now that I look at this and see it's because the wire is supposed to go through the axle. I will bet he ran over something, hooked the wire on the other side, and pulled it. Because see, that's rather tight. And it's, yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to have to fix that. And see, even this one, the wire is still there on the back side. One of them is, but they're either ripped or cut. So I think I'm going to leave that off till I get that wire fixed. That's probably what he did. I bet he either drove over or backed over something and caught these wires. I think I might just take this one off since it's already disconnected and go after it with the garden hose and clean it. Oh. Where it gets back to the point you're working on this stuff, and you almost got to be a CSI guy to figure out what how you ended up where you was at. All right, well, I got my took this and washed it off real good, and then I'll see if I can push this through the hole. Pull that out. These old wires out. That spring is good, so I'm going to just put this back down on there, and then comes with this goopy little retainer that snaps down over the end of that, which keeps the magnet on. Push the wires up through there, and then clip that, and that looks good. As you can see, the wires actually are supposed to be on the back side of this arm. So as I slide this clip on, I make sure I got it facing the right direction, so that I put the clip on, they are on the back side, and then just putting them back in the same spot they was, because you can see where it scratched the metal. And when I come through here, I don't want those super snug. I just want them tight enough where the you know, the wires aren't dangling to get caught in anything, but yet loose enough that they are aren't going to get you know, ripped loose. I mean, it don't take much to put that thing back in, and then I can come here, and those wires aren't tight, so you can slide them in and out. So, but that looks good. And then what I'm going to try and do is attach these to my butt connectors I put on those other leads, and then take zip ties and zip tie it around the tube up tight, and keep them up as high as I can, so that they aren't as likely to get caught in something. And I'm going to go ahead and strip a little bit more wire so I can do my twist and fold. You can see I got my connectors put on there. Luckily, the way these things are drilled, you only put the brake on one way, so you don't have to worry about getting it clocked wrong. But you know, the anchor pin is always at the top regardless. Because see, it's the way this axle's drilled. You squirt grease in the center, it comes out this little cross drilled hole back here, and they'll push the grease up through the bearing. Okay, now the fun part. Reaching around back here and trying to crimp these. And now these wires aren't no polarity worries, so whichever wire you stick in whichever hole, it will work. Now let's just hope that on the other end that's good. Then I can take my zip tie and bring around here and not that I need to, but I'm going to put 2 on it. That's good. I still got to figure out the wire back there. I think I'm going to go to the other side, because I got a new brake assembly for the rear over there, because just because of cost. So let me go tear the other side apart, and we'll look at the wires over there. Now, I was talking about wondering why. I was going to say, I look here, it's totally ripped. I mean, whatever he ran over, he had to have caught one side or the other and just totally ripped wires. Because see, like this, there ain't a whole lot you can do, because you got to get from the frame down to the axle, and you just really can't do it without yeah, I don't know. Without having it dangle. So I went up to the trailer place, because of course I needed wire. So, and what I'm going to end up doing is taking my new wire and stripping some of the insulation back here and getting that gray skin off of it. Now I'm going to take the one wire and cut off about 2 inches. Well, I ended up not being able to push that wire through, and part of it was because the old wire apparently was still in the tube, because this is what I pulled out. And I still was having trouble, so I just went and got a piece of baling wire, stuck it through the tube, and then I got a stubby pick hook. I can go in there, fish it, pull it up, and I just get it with my hook pointing straight up, get it pulled up there, and I use my wire snipper deals this time to grab a hold of my hook and just pry and pull till I pulled the wire through the hole. Now I'm just going to fold it around like that so it's I won't pull it back through, and I'm going to go to the other side and tie the new wire to the baling wire. Okay, once I get the baling wire wrapped around, Curtis, you got to stay back. Now I can come over here and pull on some of this and take the slack out. And this is easier if you have help. Just my help, the dog isn't really much help. Because get stuff like that, it's hard to feed that. Hard to expect the wire to go into the axle nice and smooth. So I'll push a little and come over here and pull a little. I think I am. I think the baling wire is right here. Yep. Just my tag end is catching. There we go. All right, there it is. Whew. Take this drum and I'm gonna hold the wires. So I'm gonna do what I did earlier. Put that up on there and then the lock washer. I'm just about ready to where I might actually be able to finally pack wheel bearings. Then I can come back here and for now get that in the crimper. And like before, polarity's not important on these, it's just operating the magnet, so it doesn't matter which is which. No, I don't need licked. Well, the cat's walked up, so now the dog's going nuts again. Do the same thing I did at the front. I'm going to zip tie those wires to the tube. But I don't think his initial problem was hanging the wires on this side. I think is on the other. I'm over to the driver's side and I got the drum or the backing plate with the brake shoes up there. Then come to the back side. I got all my wires tied together. Got the zip ties holding it around the axle and try and keep it as far out away from everything as possible, even though I don't know that it'll help. And then I still got to do some zip ties up there at the front one. Haven't done that yet, but I'm going to tighten this drum up, or the backing plate up, and we're about ready to pack wheel bearings and put new seals in and clean up these drums. And after we get done with all that, then we can start thinking about working on some lights. Okay, got me a spot fixed up for packing bearings, and then I brought drums up and set them like front and rear, and I got the other bearings front and rear. So I'm going to try and put everything back in the same spot. The bearing for the left rear, and got a little bit of dirt on it, so I'm just going to take a rag and wipe off the dirt and some of the excess grease. Because you'll, then I can take my bearing packer, drop it down in there, resituate so I'm closer to me, and then just push that down and push new grease up in, and then pull that out, and I'm going to set it there for the rear. This is the corresponding outer rear bearing. Of course, I put on these latex gloves because I don't want grease all over everything. Now, I think I'm actually going to do all the outer bearings first since they're smaller in diameter. But just, simply push new grease up through. So might be better like that. Take up less space. And I'm just going to repeat this procedure for all 8 of the bearings. And after I get them all greased and go back together, I'll come back to the camera. Okay, now that I got hacked, I'll just take the front bearing, drop in the front hole, take the back bearing, drop in for the back hole, come over here. I guess I do them 2 at a time because it only takes one hand to handle it, like that. Now I got brand new seals. I'm just going to take grease and put in the lips of these seals so they're lubricated, and just fill those lips up. Anyway, one there, one there. And then I'm going to get my race driver and put those in. And I got one that's just barely big enough, and probably going to show on the video one of these, but I'll line that up, and then okay, now I did take, and where this magnet's going to rub on the inside of this brake drum, any place I got grease, I wash that grease off. And for now, I'm going to put this together, but then I'm going to have to, there's an access hole in the back side. I'm actually going to have to adjust these to fit this drum. And let's see how tight it is to begin with. Oh. And it's got a lot of slop, so I think I'll go ahead and adjust it a little, and I'll just take my pliers and See if I can do it that way. If you don't get them up close enough, then they won't apply and work good. Yeah, we're getting close. And it went too far. There we go. Take my outer bearing and put it in. Now I wiped off my washer, and I'm actually going to flip it over from where it was, I think. And then we can start the nut. And take my big pliers and tighten the nut. What I'm doing here is just trying to get all the grease that's in between the rollers and the bearing races cleared out. Then I can loosen this up and bring that up and find my hole for my cotter key, which this way of doing the cotter keys is not my favorite. But depending on who made the axle, they'll all tend to do it a little different. But we can pull that down through and just bend these up like that. And then cuss it myself next time I got to take this apart. So, but yeah, that's getting it back on, and here we got just a little bit of drag. I'm going to get the other three put together, then I'll come back in a few. Okay, and our axles have a grease fitting in the end of them. And of course this one was missing, so I went and got a new grease fitting, and I'm just going to assume it's a 6 or a 7 millimeter, and 7 it is. We'll tighten that up, and then these caps, most axles when you see these removable caps is because of that grease fitting. And what we can do is just come up here and just pump extra grease in here. And I just do this till I see it pushing the grease through the outer bearing, which this may hold a lot because I think that cavity in there was empty. But if we get a good amount in there, then as the wheel turns, it'll sling it out and force it out into the bearings. As you can see, my grease gun, the tip isn't sealing good on that Zerk. And all I got left to do is go get my hammer and drive those back on. Well, I've got all 4 drums back on, all the wheel bearings tight, the brakes adjusted, everything greased. What I forgot to mention is this equalizer bolt has a grease fitting. Need to grease those, because that's part of what went wrong with this, was he didn't grease that bolt, so it wore everything out, because that supports a lot of weight. I still got to put the wheels on. Now I got to come up here and fix some wiring, because you know, you can't really see, but the wire that goes from the ground over here to the box is melted, and I got to figure out tail light wiring, because they've got this little concoction. I've got another wire with alligator clips on it, so, and then I got to fix this ground wire. So yeah, I'm gonna start working on some of this wiring, and I doubt I'll record all this, because I'll probably have a 10-hour video fixing this wiring. But I'm gonna get my creeper out and crawl underneath and kind of see where that red wire and that yellow wire go, and what they got them set up for, because currently I have no idea. Now let's say this trailer, I was out here working on all the lighting, and I hope you can see up in there, and I've cleaned out a bunch. All the wiring, it got full of gravel, dust, and mud looking stuff up inside that tube on both sides. And then where these side lights come through, where they welded on this little extra piece, water would run down in the light and fill this up. So I had corroded wires in here too. Well, I think I got the Lone Star dump trailer all done. Got brakes fixed and working. Got all the lights working. Here on the end, I drilled a hole to let water leak out. Underneath at the front, I drilled a hole to let water come out. So at least that'll help with, because the wire's corroded because they were sitting in water. I don't know what you do about it. I mean, it's a trailer, but everything's working. Hey, I appreciate you watching this episode. Always like those thumbs up for the likes. I appreciate all those comments, and hey, if you're not a subscriber, better join on in, because no telling what else you'll see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.